Hey guys, Dan here from Your Guitar Academy, and in this lesson I'm going to be taking you through 3 of your first chords. They're really great, easygoing chords, relatively easygoing anyway, and then I'm going to even show you how to play a full song using these chords. So we've got loads to cover and I'll break it down in super detail. We're going to really treat it like this is your first guitar lesson. So absolutely, baby steps as we go through it. Now before we start, let's just have a listen to the song that we're going to be able to play with these 3 chords. There's something happening here, and what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there. He's telling me I've got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Okay, so just before we get into it, if you're liking this video, then please do hit the like button and then do subscribe as well. We've got loads more videos that can really help you on your guitar journey. Also, please leave a comment as well. We're happy to help with any questions that you might have about these chords or anything else to do with the guitar. Finally, if you are looking to really take your skills to the next level as a beginner guitarist, then we've got a full course right here on YouTube or on our website, which you can take right now. And we'll put the links here and in the description below. Right, so this song and these chords, okay? So the song is For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. Hopefully you recognize it. It's just a great song to start with because it's so easy going in terms of its changes. It jumps up a little bit in the chorus, but we're going to go through it. Now, the 3 chords that we're going to need are an E major, an A major, and a D major. Now, the D major is going to be our bonus extra, let's call it. We're going to really focus in on the E and the A first, okay, because that makes up the bulk of the song. And a lot of you guys might have heard of these chords or know a little bit about these, but I'm going to treat this as if it was your first lesson and go through them in really great detail so that you can understand how to get them sounding as good as possible. Now, even though these are beginners chords, they're still going to be quite tough. So let's just set ourselves up as well as we can in terms of our technique first. So the first thing I want you guys to do is put your thumb in the right position. So I'm going to flip over this the guitar. You're probably going to hear a plectrum fall. That's it. There's a plectrum stuck in it. And it's important where we put the thumb. So notice that what I'm doing is I'm flattening it on the neck and I'm flattening it like this. Not like this, not with the thumb bent, with a flat thumb. And it's about halfway down the back of the neck. That's really important, guys, as to setting your kind of grounding, your foundation. And there's that plectrum again. And then that will allow me, with that thumb back, it will allow me to bring the wrist all the way round, okay? And that's, again, absolutely crucial. Have that wrist all the way round. Just gives us the best chance of getting the clearest sounding chord. Now from there, the E major chord looks like this, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm gonna put my second finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. So that's probably quite a lot of information, so let me just go through that. So the 2nd string, or in my book, is the A string, so this 2nd string down from the low string. And I've got my 2nd finger on that, so in terms of my fingers, I've got my 1st finger, my 2nd finger, my 3rd finger, and my 4th finger. Hopefully you can see that, and you can see all the lovely dents that you're gonna get in them, calluses as well, all the good stuff. And I'm gonna put that 2nd finger onto the 2nd fret. So this is the 1st fret, this is the 2nd fret, this is the 3rd fret, 4th, and so on. So that's where that one's going to go. Let's just start with that. Okay, we'll refine it all in a minute. Then the 3rd finger, so the finger underneath, is going to go literally underneath. Okay, so the 2nd fret, but this time of the string underneath. So that's the D string. So those two go together. And my 1st finger is going to go on the 1st fret of the G string. So now we're down on this string on the 1st fret. Okay? So that's, again, I'm using one string at a time. Okay? And that's roughly what it sounds like. Now for you guys, this is going to be really hard to get this sounding clear at first. If you've never done anything else on the guitar, this is going to really push you guys. It's going to be a great little lesson for you. And essentially what we need to do is trying to get the 3 ringing out like that. Now, a couple of little tips here. First off, try and get as far across the fret as you can with each finger, okay? So rather than being back here, if you imagine, I'm gonna get lots of this. Lots of this buzzing sound. No matter how hard you push down, you're still going to get buzzing there. If I just move it slightly across, so I'm still within the correct frets, but I'm at the edges of them, almost touching the actual silver fret there, the silver bar, I can get a much clearer sound, okay? I'm also pushing down pretty darn hard, okay? So I'm getting those nice big dents in my fingers, okay? And notice that the fingers are all bent at this joint, so they're not flat there, okay? We don't want them flat there, we want them bent like that. And I'm gonna really push in for a second, because I want you to see something. Hopefully the cameras will work with me on this, but basically, if you now have a look there, if you can see where those dents are on my fingers, okay, hopefully, I'll bring it really as close as I can, you can see where those dents are, okay? And those dents give you an indication of where you should be pushing down on the string. So it's right at the tip of the fingers, basically, okay? Now, let's bring it back here. With those little bits and bobs in mind, just try and go through all 3 strings that you're fretting so that you're actually pushing down. Doesn't matter if you're doing it with a plectrum or your finger or your thumb, that's all irrelevant at this point. Let's just get the chord right. Now, the very most common thing is that this note, the G, this first finger here, isn't ringing out. It's doing something like that. And that's probably because this isn't quite creating enough of a bridge. So with your fingers really strong in this joint, push your thumb at the back down further, which will bring your wrist around and you'll get more of a bridge. Okay? And with that in mind, you want to try and get all 6 strings ringing out. Now, you're on the quest to make it as good as you can, but we're not looking for perfection at this point. Certainly that'll take its time. That'll happen all by itself. You really don't need to consciously work on that. You just need to work on getting it as good as you can. And we're going to be doing this in 2 stages. So the first thing is just have a little fiddle around with that, try and get that hand position comfortable. But for beginners, every 5 minutes, just make sure you take the hands off, have a little stretch like that, and then put them back on again, because it's going to really start aching the wrist, okay? Which is not a bad thing, because obviously this is a whole new position for you, but you don't want to overdo it. So just take it off and then back on again. So that's our first chord to learn. Now with all those tips and ideas in mind, we can learn the second chord, A major. And I think we're going to try and fret it. There's lots of ways to do an A major. We're going to try and do it like this with our 3 fingers, okay? So I've literally got 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger all in the same fret, the 2nd fret. But I'm going to go on the D string. So that's not the lowest string, not the next string, but the next string after that. Then the G string and then the B string. So 1 string at a time. And that means that you have to have this 1st finger quite far back to do it like that. And then I'm going to do an open E string. Now, trying to get everything in mind there, so pushing down hard, thumb at the back, all fingers into the frets. You might feel that that's really quite hard to get that chord on, okay? So I've got a little tip for you here. If you don't like that or you've never done it like that, you can always do this, okay? This is a little trick that a lot of people use, especially when changing from the E to the A chord, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to keep your 1st finger on as your pivot from the E chord. So get to the E major chord again. Slide it up 1 fret and then put the other 2 fingers around it. So now you can put your 2nd finger on the D string and your 3rd finger on the B string. So you get same chord shape, just using different fingers. You might find that a lot easier, I don't know. It's up to you, really. There's no right or wrong here. As long as at the end of the day, you're hearing the chord as clearly as you can. And again, you know, it's going to sound a little bit messy at first. Just keep working with those tips, getting the pressure right, getting them as far across the fret as possible. But go with either one. So if you prefer the feel of that one, go for that. If you prefer the feel of that, then go for that. Certainly, if you're changing between that E and the A, that definitely has a bonus easy extra there for you. Okay? So before we look at the D chord, we'll do that at the end as like a bonus, okay? We're going to work with these 2 chords, and I think that's always a good thing. Just take 2 chords and just work with them. And you've got 2 different types of practice that I want you to consider here. The first type of practice is you really take your time on each chord. You fret it, you re-fret it, so i.e. you keep kind of putting the fingers in slightly different places, readjusting, adjusting the pressure, adjusting the hand position until you feel comfortable with it and you're getting it clearer and clearer, okay? Let's say that takes 10 minutes, having a go with that, really getting into that. Then, you do that with each chord, by the way. And then what you're going to do is we're just going to ditch the perfection entirely. Just get rid of it. It's gone, okay? I want horrible sounding chords, but I want them to change as quickly as you can. And that's where we're going to get a drum beat on, okay? So I'm going to use a drum beat here, but you can just kind of count casually in your head or imagine a drum beat, or if you've got a metronome, whatever it is, you can give this a go. And you'll even be able to do this with the song. So this is why we're going to learn this song. So have a listen to this. There's a drum beat. And when we're doing musical bars, okay, we count in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just go round and round in 4. And every 4 beats, we're going to change the chord. Okay, like this. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. However you play that A, that's up to you. I'll do it both ways for demonstration. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Now then, for you guys, it might start sounding a bit more like this, okay, and that's fine. 3, 4. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, right? So not the nicest sounding chord, but the key thing is, and here's the important part, so do listen, the key thing is that you just got to get to the chord on the first beat of the next bar. So when it comes round to the boom, when you need to get to it, get to it. No matter how it sounds, how it looks, just try and get to it. That might mean that as soon as you hit the E, you're off thinking about the A. And as soon as you hit the A, you're off trying to think about the E. That's absolutely fine. The whole point here is that we're really pushing those fingers. This is an exercise for your fingers, okay? In the same way you do one for your body, right? You've got to push them a little bit hard sometimes. So we're going to really be pushing them to kind of get to the beat on time, okay? And if you, after doing it a few times, you're still not getting to the beat on time, then just slow that beat down a little bit more. But however you do it, it's important to try and get to it on time, because that's how you start to create music. It has to be a change within the music, within the timing. And so many people struggle to play along with songs because they didn't do this bit when they first started. Learning just to, from day one, play along with something or play along with a beat or a metronome or whatever it is. So the great news is you can literally practice that with that song, the Buffalo Springfield song, okay? It's that. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. Okay, so for the whole of the verse, all the verses, we're literally going 1 bar on E major, 4. 1 bar on A, 2, 3, 4. 1 bar on E, 3, and 1 bar on A. So, what I'd recommend is, if that's a lot for you, then just stop there, you know, work with that, and go through and get the whole verse of the song together, okay? Now, what I'd like to do as a bonus here at the end is add the D major chord as well, because in the chorus, it goes like this. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. So we've got that D major chord that jumps in from nowhere, okay? And some quite quick changes suddenly, okay? But if you're up for it, let's do it. So the D major chord looks like this, okay? And it's something you'll have heard a lot. It's a very, very common chord, one of my favorite chords of all time. And to get it correct, we're going to take our first and second fingers and pop them like that. So we've got the second finger on the highest string on the 2nd fret, and we've got the first finger on the 2nd fret on the G string. So not the B string, the G string. So those two like that, okay? Again, try and get that thumb down at the back. Okay, you can see mine creeps up naturally, but just keep it at the back. This is very much a beginner's thing, really keeping that strict hand movement there. And then we're going to add the 3rd finger in between. So on the 3rd fret of the B string, we're we're going to add this note there. Okay, so we've got, okay, and I'd say with the D, the most common thing is that you're able to get the first note, the second note, but this note just eludes us. It eludes us. And that is because this finger is just blocking it. Okay, so to get that as good as possible, remember our tips, get that thumb at the back nice and flat, bring the whole wrist round, try and get it as clean as possible. And there's your D. We've also got the open D string, which is that third string from the low end. Okay. And it doesn't really matter if you end up hitting the A string. Try and avoid the E string note when you're hitting that chord, but don't worry too much about that. So there's your D major chord. Just spend a bit of time trying to get that together. And what I would do is apply the same thing that I did with the E and the A. So now I might take A and D, pop on the old drum beat, and try and change between those two, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and so on and so forth, until it's starting to sound reasonably clear, or at least your fingers are starting to remember it. And a final little tip here is that you'll be surprised what a little break does as well. When you're just finally getting to a point where you're just like, it's just not coming together. Put the guitar down, go away, have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, whatever it is, have a snack, okay? And then come back here and try again. And you'll be surprised that muscle memory would have been doing a little bit of work whilst you're away, and you'll suddenly might find it all a little bit easier. And that tends to happen each time that you do it. Once you've got those together, the last bit of that song is the chorus, and we're going to do an E, 1 strum, a D, 1 strum, and an A, 1 strum. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. So we've got a quick change between the E and the D. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you've got that slightly quicker change to get to the D, which is going to be challenging. But then after that, you're right back to the main song. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Remember, there's no pressure to do this in any kind of time restriction, time limit here. If there's one thing I learned being a guitar tutor, that everyone goes at their own pace and everyone has their own little difficulties along the way. So, you know, don't worry, don't feel like you've got to get this down in a day or a week. It might take 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it takes. As long as you're enjoying it every time you pick up the guitar, it's all good. So if you did enjoy that lesson, please do hit the like button, please subscribe and comment below. Plus, if you are looking to really take your skills to the next level and learn properly from day one, then we've got that beginner's course, and you can take it right here on YouTube. And if you're in that playlist, you'll have links that will take you to the website for all the materials as well. Otherwise, if you want some more really fun beginner's lessons, there's loads here. I'll speak to you soon.